All right, ready for another deep dive? Today we're tackling communication. How to really become amazing at it. Jefferson Fisher, he's a trial lawyer,
Okay.
and he really knows his stuff when it comes to communication. Sat down with Mel Robbins, and they just had a fantastic conversation about
Yeah.
how to level up your communication skills.
You know, one of the things that struck me is how Fisher goes beyond just like charisma.
Right.
It's not just about being, charming or smooth.
Yeah.
It's really about shaping your life
Mhm.
using your words.
Yeah, it's like he's saying your words have power.
Yeah.
And they really can determine the trajectory of your life in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. Your relationships, your career, how you see yourself, how others see you,
Yeah,
it all comes down to communication.
absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things that I found really surprising in this interview was his take on the sandwich technique.
Oh, yeah.
When you're giving feedback,
No, classic.
you try to cushion the criticism.
Right. A little compliment, a little bit of tough love, and then
Right,
another compliment.
Exactly. He's like, throw that out the window.
Yeah, he says, ditch it. It's more confusing than helpful. Just be direct.
Really? So no more sandwiching.
He says it just muddies the waters,
Yeah.
Be honest, be respectful,
Right.
but get straight to the point.
Okay, so just come right out and say it.
He actually uses this great example from Mel Robbins' own life. She's talking about this awkward dinner conversation. Something was off.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of addressing it directly with her husband,
Right.
she kind of tiptoed around it. Later, she's like, ugh, I wish I just said something.
Yeah, I can totally see that. So
Yeah.
just address it head on. But then what? How do you make sure everyone's on the same page after you've, kind of laid it all out there?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. Instead of getting all defensive, Fisher says, ask this. What did you hear?
Oh, wow. So you're not arguing, you're not trying to be right. You're just trying to understand.
Exactly. It totally shifts the energy. It's like, okay, let's make sure we're both on the same page here.
Mm.
It makes me think of all the times I've felt totally misunderstood.
Right.
If only I had used that question. What did you hear? Things might have gone so much smoother.
Yeah. It's like hitting the reset button on a disagreement, right?
Totally. But what about those times when someone's intentionally trying to be hurtful? Like those cutting remarks, just to get a reaction.
Ooh, yeah. Those are tough. What do you do about those?
Okay, so this one might sound a little crazy, but Fisher says, make them repeat themselves.
Make them repeat the insult.
Yeah. Think about it. When someone's being nasty, they're often counting on that shock value.
Right.
But if you just calmly say, hey, can you repeat that? It takes away their power.
Huh. So it's like holding up a mirror, right?
Yeah, exactly. Suddenly they have to actually own those ugly words.
Wow. Mel Robbins actually shares this really relatable story about, questioning her daughter's clothes and how even a seemingly harmless question
Right.
can have these unintended barbs.
It's so true. We don't always realize the impact of our words, even in casual conversation.
Yeah. It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About being more mindful.
Absolutely. And that leads to another one of Fisher's big ideas, conversational values. He says, before you even go into any interaction, decide, what values do I want to guide me here?
So like kindness, honesty.
Yeah, those are good ones. Seeking understanding,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even humor. It's like your personal compass.
Oh, I like that. So even when things get heated, you've got this compass to keep you on track.
Exactly. He tells this great story about disagreeing with opposing counsel, but still sticking to his values of respect and professionalism. And guess what?
What?
It actually led to a win-win outcome for both sides.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So even in a situation like that where you're kind of going head to head,
Yeah.
those values can really help
They can.
guide you towards a positive outcome.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of another technique he talks about, reframing criticism.
Oh, yeah.
It's about replacing those you statements,
Right.
which can sound really accusatory, with it or the situation statements.
So instead of you're messy, you could say,
The room is messy.
exactly. It takes the sting out. Right. It's not about attacking the person.
Right.
It's about addressing the problem.
And finding a solution together, right?
Right. Imagine if parents use this more. Hey, it seems like the toys need a little help finding their home. How can we tackle this together? So much better than you didn't clean your room.
I love that. It's like, instead of blame, it's teamwork.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's think about our listener for a second. You're out there, you're eager to learn. What are some key takeaways you can start applying to your own communication today?
All right, first things first. Breathe. especially when you're nervous. That pause, it'll help you gather your thoughts, and speak with more clarity.
It's like taking a moment to center yourself.
Exactly. Okay, now let's say you want to spark a really engaging conversation. Go beyond the "how are you?" Try asking something like, "What are you excited about?"
Ooh, I like that.
People love to talk about their passions.
It's like you're inviting them to share their best selves.
Yeah. Now, I know I'm guilty of this sometimes, oversharing. I can be a total waterfall of information.
I feel that. Sometimes less is more, right?
Fisher actually uses that analogy. He says, be a well, not a waterfall. Offer insights when needed. Create intrigue.
Okay, so instead of drowning people in details, let them draw from you.
Exactly. Be a mystery. Make them want to learn more.
Okay, I can dig that. And before any interaction, take a second to decide, what kind of person do I want to be in this moment?
Mm-hmm. The supportive friend, the insightful colleague.
Yeah.
Let your words reflect that. And remember, this is a journey. Ask yourself, who do my words say that I am?
Mm-hmm.
And ask people you trust for honest feedback.
It's about making sure your communication matches the person you want to be.
Exactly. It's amazing how, just small tweaks to how we talk can change everything, right?
It really can.
Okay, but what about when someone's just being a jerk? Outright disrespectful. It's so hard not to, get defensive.
Oh, it's so tough. You want to fire back, right?
Yeah.
But Fisher, he actually recommends silence.
Silence.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It sounds kind of crazy, but he says pause.
Just don't say anything.
Yeah, like a full 10 seconds, which feels like forever in the moment,
Oh, I bet.
but it can totally change the whole dynamic.
Huh. So instead of getting sucked into that negative energy,
Exactly.
you're kind of taking a step back.
You're regaining control. And then after that silence, he has this line he likes to use. He says, "That's below my standard for a response."
Ooh, I like that. It's like you're setting a boundary.
Right, like I'm not playing that game.
You're not stooping to their level.
Exactly. And Mel Robbins actually shared a story about her mom being disrespectful to wait staff at a restaurant.
Oh.
And how she chose to model kindness and respect instead of
Right. Be the bigger person.
instead of joining in. And Fisher, he tells this really powerful story about his grandfather making a pretty off-color comment at Walmart.
Oh, wow.
And he had to call him out on it, have this tough conversation.
It's hard with family, you're right.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But sometimes you got to have those tough conversations.
Yeah, sometimes love means holding people accountable.
Exactly. Okay, but switching gears a bit, what about when we're the ones who need to give criticism,
Mm-hmm.
address a problem?
Oh, man, those conversations are never easy.
No, they're not. But remember Fisher's advice about reframing criticism?
You mean the you versus it statements?
Exactly.
So, instead of you messed up this report,
You say,
it
yeah,
seems like there are some inconsistencies in the report.
right. Subtle but powerful.
It takes the blame out of it.
Totally. Makes it more collaborative.
Think about how we talk to our kids. Instead of you didn't clean your room, it's, hey, it looks like the room needs a little reset. How can we tackle this together?
Love it. From blame to teamwork.
Works for roommates, partners, colleagues, everyone.
Mm-hmm. But what about people who, just struggle to communicate effectively in general? I'm thinking of Mel Robbins mentioned a friend who gets really anxious speaking up in social situations.
Yeah, social anxiety is real. And some people just, aren't naturally gifted communicators.
Right. Well, Fisher, he actually draws on his experience coaching legal clients, before they face intense cross-examination.
Wow, yeah, that's got to be nerve-wracking.
Big time. So one of his big things is brevity, especially for people who tend to over-explain when they're nervous.
Keep it short and sweet.
He actually uses this great visual. He says, your breath should be the first word you say.
Oh, I love that.
Right. Take a moment.
Pause, breathe.
Center yourself.
And then
Speak with intention.
quality over quantity.
Exactly. And for people who find it hard to initiate conversations, he recommends focusing on having one truly meaningful conversation
Okay.
rather than trying to be surface level friendly with a bunch of people.
So go deep with one person instead of spreading yourself thin.
Exactly. And here's a good one for breaking the ice.
Yeah.
Instead of, how are you?
Which is so boring.
Right. Ask, what are you excited about?
Ooh, that's good.
Gets people talking about something positive.
Totally. Now, what about when we get asked, how are you? I'm so guilty of just saying good, even when I'm not.
Yeah. Right. We all do it. Well, Fisher actually suggests using weather metaphors.
Weather metaphors.
Yeah, instead of good, you could say, I'm feeling a bit cloudy today, or I'm basking in the sunshine.
That's cute.
It's a way to be authentic
Mm.
without oversharing.
Right, you're not dumping your whole emotional baggage on them.
Exactly. And speaking of oversharing, I know I've been a waterfall before.
Oh, yeah. Me too. Too much info.
But remember, Fisher's advice, be a well, not a waterfall.
Right. Offer insights as needed.
Let people draw from you.
Create that sense of mystery.
Make them want to learn more.
It's like you become this intriguing person with hidden depths.
Yeah, it's like that saying, still waters run deep,
Ooh, I like that.
you know? Like sometimes the most interesting people are the ones who kind of hold back a little bit, you know?
It's true. It's not about being like dissonant,
Right.
but it's about like being intentional
Right.
with what you share.
Yeah.
And this brings us back to like one of Fisher's main points here.
Yeah.
We have the power to shape our reality with our words.
Now, he's not talking about like, mystical manifestation or anything.
No.
Okay.
But he's saying our words have real power.
Mhm.
They affect how we see ourselves, how others see us,
Right.
how we show up in the world.
So if we want to be seen as confident,
Mm-hmm.
we need to use confident language.
Exactly. It's like you got to walk the walk and talk the talk.
Yeah. So it's really about aligning your words with who you want to be.
And then, like, that creates a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right.
If you believe it and you say it,
Mm.
you're more likely to achieve it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But how do we make sure our words are actually reflecting the best version of ourselves?
Well, Fisher's big on self-reflection.
Okay.
He says, ask yourself, who do my words say that I am?
Mm.
And ask people you trust. Like, get some honest feedback.
Yeah, it's like holding up a mirror to your communication style.
Exactly. Might be a little scary, but it's so helpful.
It is. Now, I know a lot of our listeners are always looking for ways to level up their communication at work.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Does Fisher have any specific advice for that kind of setting?
He does. And his number one tip, have something to learn, not something to prove.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
So it's about shifting your mindset from like ego and competition
Right.
to curiosity and collaboration.
Oh, I like that.
So instead of trying to like dominate every conversation or prove how smart you are,
Go in wanting to learn from others.
yeah, that makes you a much better colleague
Right.
and just a more effective communicator overall.
When you're genuinely interested in what other people have to say, you're actually listening,
Yeah.
You're asking good questions.
Yeah. It creates a much more positive dynamic, I think.
Totally. He also talks about using language that like conveys authority, especially if you're in a leadership role.
So what kind of language are we talking about?
Like, I'd like to set the direction of this conversation,
Okay.
or I'm not sure that's the direction we want to go in, things like that.
So it's about being clear,
Yeah.
but also like respectful.
Right. It's not about being a dictator. It's about leading.
Right.
Right.
Yep. Okay. And then what about communication at home?
Well, Fisher, he really stresses the importance of like expressing love and care through your words. Telling your loved ones, I'm saying this because I love you.
Oh, yeah.
Or I'm proud of you.
Especially if they like didn't hear those things enough growing up.
It's amazing how those little phrases
Yeah.
can make such a big difference.
Yeah.
We often just assume people know how we feel.
Right.
But sometimes you just got to say it.
And he also talks about, owning up to your mistakes,
Yeah.
apologizing when you mess up, saying, I'm learning too.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
It just creates a more understanding atmosphere.
Yeah. It takes the pressure off.
Mhm.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into communication, I think the big takeaway is this. We all have the power to change our lives by changing the way we communicate.
Absolutely.
It's not about like memorizing scripts or anything like that.
Right.
It's about, being more mindful of our words, our energy,
Mhm.
the impact we want to have.
It's about seeing every conversation as a chance to connect, to inspire, to learn.
And remember, you're the author of your own story.
Yeah.
Choose your words wisely.
Because they have power.